Hello, my name is Jeremy, and welcome to Let's Chat. This is a series where I kind of want to take a Let's Play style video and make kind of something a little bit more serious. Um, I feel like a lot of the Let's Play content on YouTube is kind of cookie cutter, kind of the same. And I found it really interesting with a lot of channels when they go into like deeper subjects. So I thought maybe it might be cool to make a series out of that. Maybe anybody listening can, maybe find some connections with this and maybe it can help them out a little bit. So I'm doing post commentary over footage that I captured on PC using OBS of Dark Souls 1 remastered. So I kind of have a tendency to like associate video games with like periods of my life, if that makes sense. So like Dark Souls kind of takes me back to kind of like early high school years, early to late high school. I wasn't like ever super good at this game when I first picked it up. I struggled with it a lot. I actually put it down for a while after I tried it for the first time because I bought Prepare to Die edition on a Steam sale and decided to throw it in, and I was not good. Not by any means at all. So I kind of just said, whatever, like this is way too hard. I got up to like the Tauros Demon, I think. Couldn't beat the Tauros Demon, and I just kind of gave up. The funny thing about this game is it always kind of... It doesn't really now. It does a little bit, but it used to... see me get hit by the arrow right to the face like a moron. Anyway, as I was saying, this game kind of always made me like really sad when I played it. I don't know, it was just like... I mean, you look at the visuals, it's just a super bleak game, and it makes sense that a lot of people would associate it with like depression and anxiety, because like, I don't know, that's kind of also like one of the main themes of the game, almost in a way, is overcoming challenges. And so in a real life context, it's kind of like overcoming your demons, your personal demons. I think there's a lot of parallels there. Obviously, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's interesting to think about. So yeah, as I was saying, this game like really kind of used to make me feel really depressed, like when I would pick it up. And I don't know, when I was a kid, like I tended to gravitate towards more like cartoony games, like Pokemon and stuff like that. Honestly, like I went through a period of my life from like age like 5 or 6 to like 15 or 16, where I only really played Pokemon. Like I liked other games, like I thought Dark Souls was really cool, but like I was not confident enough in my ability to play video games, so I just like wouldn't do it because I was like, I don't know, I was really anxious as a kid, and like, still sometimes now, but I feel like I've overcome that a lot. And some of that I kind of owe to Dark Souls in a little bit of a way, at least for like video games. I don't want to claim that Dark Souls like cured my anxiety or anything like that. Although I do know a lot of people who would claim that, and I don't know, that's fair, I think, to claim that this game really helped with anxiety. This is embarrassing. I'm almost get killed by the Asylum Demon right here. So please ignore this sloppy play. I promise it gets better. I promise it gets better. But yeah, I have a couple friends and people I know that would claim that Dark Souls really did help with their anxiety and depression, and just help them overcome some of their inner demons, which I think is really cool. That the idea that a video game could do that for anybody is just kind of crazy to me. Also, you kind of see me looking around a lot. Like, this game is really, like, visually stunning. Like, remastered is crazy good looking. Although there's some glaring, obvious, things that they didn't fix that I'll kind of show off later, but, so yeah, I really think that this game is just a crazy triumph on a lot of levels, and, it's almost funny to think that, like, From Software wasn't in a super good place when this series was being created. For anybody who doesn't know, Demon's Souls was like the first try with a Souls-like formula, and a lot of people, it didn't like take off like at all. I don't think Demon's Souls sold very well in Japan. It definitely didn't sell well over here in the U.S. I should clarify, I live in the U.S. So it was kind of crazy how Dark Souls kind of just became this like cult classic that it is. I think a lot of it is due to the difficulty, and I mean, obviously it is. But like, a lot of people have a lot of stories of them just being super influenced by this game in their lives, and I think that's why it's so popular, and that's why there were sequels made of it, and that's why From Software continues to keep doing this formula over and over again. So you can see me leveling up. I pumped Faith quite a bit. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to continue playing this game for future videos, maybe, but I just kind of wanted to just go through the early game. So I'm pumping Faith to get the Sunlight Spear, because that game just tears ass through the beginning. It's crazy. Like, you'll see later, like, wow, like, Faith is pretty unbalanced early game. But yeah, anyway, so, God, I got really sidetracked in what I was saying, introducing Dark Souls, as if this game needs an introduction, as if everybody who's played a video game ever hasn't heard of this game. So I associate this game kind of with, like, that mid to late high school period where I was kind of trying to figure myself out. I mean, obviously I still did in college, but mostly did in college, but you know, there was still some strong just not knowing who I was or what I was doing in high school feelings, and it's kind of when this game came into my life, and you know, I wasn't good at it, like I said. I kind of just threw it down, and after the Taurus Demon, which you'll see, I get even farther than that in this less than an hour video. But I actually, the first Souls game that I completed was Dark Souls 2. Because I remember sophomore year of high school was when Dark Souls 2 was coming out. And one of my friends was just raving about it, and I was like, I don't really get the whole Dark Souls thing, but I think the aesthetic is super cool. Like, I've always loved, like, fantasy and knights and stuff like that, and, like, this game is rad, and I want to get good at it. So, I picked up Dark Souls 2, for the Xbox 360, and boy oh boy, that game looks awful on 360. Just the screen tearing is so bad. So I didn't get super far in the 360 version, so I was just, like, not enjoying it, and the visuals were strange, and, I remember I got up to the Pursuer, and the Pursuer he just kicked the crap out of me over and over again, and I just got really frustrated, because I was still quite inexperienced with video games at this point, because all I'd played when I was a kid was Pokemon, a little bit of Zelda, Pokemon, and so I eventually picked up Dark Souls 2 for PC, and that was really when I started to just say, okay, I'm gonna sit down and play this, because now the visuals look great, because I was playing it on PC, there was no screen tearing, it had 60 FPS, so it just ran a lot smoother, and looked great, and so I was like, alright, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make it through this game if it kills me, and, you know, I kinda did it the bitch way, and kinda summoned a lot, for bosses, and, I watched a lot of, video walkthroughs on YouTube, wow, that was a horrible whiff, but the backstab was good. I was super into Epic Name Bro. I still watch some of his stuff sometimes. He's an awesome content creator. Like, if you're wanting to get into Dark Souls and somehow are discovering this video and haven't watched Epic Name Bro, but watch him. Obviously, he's one of the connoisseurs of like Souls videos. So yeah, highly recommended. And kind of part of the reason I'm doing this and starting with Dark Souls is because his videos influenced me so much. But so yeah, I was I beat Dark Souls 2 on PC, and like I was not good at it by any means. I was still figuring out the whole Souls formula at this point, and God, I played. It probably took me, I think, 60 hours to get through that whole game with the DLC, which I feel like that's incredibly slow. Especially considering, like, when Bloodborne came out soon after that, I think I beat that entire game in, like, less than 30 hours, which, not saying that's fast, that's pretty slow too. I was still figuring that out the whole games. I think around the time I beat Bloodborne was when these games started clicking for me, though, because, like, I still was watching a lot of video walkthroughs and stuff like that, but I went through all of Bloodborne, solo, no summoning, but I was still watching a lot of Souls uploaders on YouTube. God, I get hit in the face with arrows so many times in this footage. Whatever. It's fine. I played fine later, I promise. I think this is a no-death run, actually. I don't think I died a single time, which is pretty cool. But, again, doesn't matter. So, yeah, I played Bloodborne, and then I finally went back to Dark Souls 1. That was when I don't think I beat it yet. I think Dark Souls 1 was actually the last Souls game that I beat. Because Dark Souls 3 came out the year after Bloodborne came out, which was way too fast in my opinion, but the game turned out great, so I guess it doesn't matter anyway. But yeah, I beat Dark Souls 3 first, and then I went back to Dark Souls 1, finally completed it, and then I beat the DLC for Dark Souls 3. Funny enough, even though I beat Bloodborne second, like, I still have not done the DLC, which I know is, like, sin, because that's, like, the best part of that game. So I'm actually playing through that again right now, just tearing ass through that game, because once you know these games, like, you can just shave down your time, like, by hours, playthrough by playthrough, which I think is another really cool thing about these games, is just, like, overcoming all those things that gave you trouble before. It's such a cool concept. So yeah, I really do think that, success and overcoming struggle has kind of become synonymous, with the whole Souls series, and I think that's why they're these games, there's like such triumphs, and um, at the time of recording this, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice isn't out yet, but I'm really excited for that game, 'cause I'm really excited to see if, like, I'll be able to, like, you know, steamroll through it, or if it's gonna be totally different, because they're taking out the whole... They're taking out the whole RPG concept and just kind of making it a straight action game, which I think is a super interesting thing that they're doing. I kind of can't believe they're taking that out, but I'm excited for it, and me and one of my roommates are just like, we're like, yeah, hell yeah, we're gonna be playing this tons from day one. Like dual TV setup, because he's an Xbox One guy and I'm a PS4 guy, because Bloodborne, I knew Bloodborne was coming to PS4, so I had to get a PS4, obviously. But he wasn't introduced to the Soul series until I got him into it. And since then, he's beaten all of them, except for the DLC for Dark Souls 1 and excuse me, and the DLC for Dark Souls 3, just the Ring City. He's beaten Ashes of Ariandel, or whatever it's called. God, I don't know why I picked that item up. I know it's rubbish, and I always pick it up every single time I go through this area. There's no point, because it's rubbish. It doesn't do anything. But anyway, again, besides the point. Honestly, I just love the whole Undead Burg level in this game. It's just, like, the level design is just so tight, and I think, I don't know why I stopped here because my controller disconnected. I'm playing on PC, but the button prompts are showing up as PS4 button prompts because I'm using a DualShock 4, because it's just my preferred controller because I play PS4. Would have just recorded this on the PS4, but capture cards are really expensive. Like, wow, they're crazy expensive. And, like, I'm happy with the way this footage looks, but in motion it's a little weird. I kind of blame OBS for that. I might mess around with the settings a little bit. But anyway, that's besides the point. As I was saying, Dark Souls and I guess Bloodborne and probably now Sekiro have all become kind of synonymous with, like, overcoming struggle, anxiety, and depression. And I think that's really cool. Like, it's a really positive outlook for, like, a series that's so bleak. Like, these games are gorgeous, but, like, one of the main design philosophies for them is, like, beauty through tragedy, and, like, I don't know, I think Dark Souls 1 captures that the best. I think they kind of lost that philosophy. Sorry about that. It's so dry down here in this basement. But, I feel like they kind of lost that a little bit with 2 and 3 and Bloodborne. Because, if you read the Dark Souls 1 design works, there's a section of it that talks about a story where Miyazaki was talking to somebody who was designing one of the enemies. I think it was like the undead dragon or whatever, and the guy was making it all, like, rotted looking and, like, decrepit and disgusting, and Miyazaki just looks at it. Miyazaki's the guy who the, like, head designer head game designer behind these games, in case you weren't aware. And he kind of just took a look at the design and he said, like, what are you doing? Like, you know, make this creature, like, majestic like a dragon, but you know, kind of make it look like it's just this beautiful creature that's been worn down by death and decay. Um, I mean, that's probably not exactly how he said it. I don't know how he said it. I wasn't there. Japanese is a strange language that works very weird compared to English. Um, it's a beautiful language, but I do not understand it at all by any means. I'm sure it was very differently phrased than what I just said. Um, but anyway, yeah, like, so a lot of that design concepts behind this game was beauty through tragedy. Oh my god, I just get pelted with fire bombs here. It's kind of embarrassing. But anyway, they kind of lost that with the other games. I feel like, because Bloodborne obviously features like a lot of disgusting creatures. I remember I was like, I think Bloodborne came out my freshman year of college, and I remember coming home for spring break and playing it, and my mom came in, looked at what I was playing, and was like, what is that? That's disgusting. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty gross. But yeah, Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 was just kind of lackluster all around. There's some definitely cool designs in there, like the Pursuer. I think is awesome looking, but so many humanoid characters, not a lot of cool like monster designs, which is kind of like something that was really prevalent in the other games. But yeah, Dark Souls 3 kind of borrowed a lot from Bloodborne, and like a lot of the creatures are just disgusting, and they make loud screeching noises like in Bloodborne. Not to say that that stuff isn't cool. Like, I think that Bloodborne is currently my favorite of the games, just because I prefer the fast-paced gameplay. Like, I think it's a little bit spammy, but like the transformation attacks kind of keep it fresh and very exciting, I think. So yeah, I'm really loving Bloodborne right now, but I don't know. Despite the design changes, I feel like the philosophy was still there. The overcoming your fears, and becoming like the strongest version of yourself that you could possibly be. Like, I also think that that's why it's important that these games are RPGs, because one of the biggest things about an RPG is you take a character and you grow them, you grow with them, and like their experiences just shape them into this a warrior, I guess. I don't know what you call it. It sounds kind of nerdy, but I mean, obviously I'm a nerd. Like, I play Dark Souls, I play video games. Like, if you play video games and you don't consider yourself a nerd, then you're just wrong. But anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, it's important that these games are RPGs because there's like a lot of growing involved in RPGs, and like, you feel yourself growing with these characters, and I think that's kind of why Dark Souls kind of got the stigma that it has with becoming a better version of yourself, and oh my god, I'm just getting beat around right here. But obviously the not bolt paper. What is this called? Gold pine resin. Sorry, I've been playing Bloodborne. Just absolutely shreds through the Taurus Demon. And the gargoyles, as you'll see later. But anyway, so, yeah, it's really, I think, how these games got the stigma that they did, and I hope that made sense. I feel like I was kind of rambling there, but this whole video is kind of a ramble, so that's okay. But, so, that's why I'm kind of interested with Sekiro, because, obviously there's still gonna be those, overcoming struggles there, because Sekiro's not gonna be an easy game. There's the whole mechanic where you come back to life after you've died, which I'm still unsure how exactly that's gonna work well, but, I think that it's gonna be really interesting for sure. Excuse me. So I'm excited to see how that's gonna work not as an RPG, because like you're not growing with the character in that way, but you're still overcoming hardships and struggles, and I don't know, I'm really excited to see how that's gonna turn out. And I'm hoping that it's just as fun as the other games have been so far. From the footage we've been shown so far, as of now, it's December 20th when I'm recording this, 2018. The game comes out in March. So we haven't seen a ton of footage yet, but the footage we've seen is just like crazy. Like, wow. This looks like familiar, but totally new at the same time. Oh, something kind of ridiculous happens here. So, I walk further down the staircase and then still get hit with the fire. Makes no sense, but whatever. It's fine. The bonfire is right here, so it's all good. So yeah, anyway, I guess, like, this would be a good time to start talking about kind of my own struggle with, like, anxiety and a little bit with depression. So obviously depression comes in a lot of forms, and can be brought on by a lot of different things. I mean, I'm no expert, obviously. I'm not a psychologist. I studied new media in college, so I have a lot of experience with video editing and using cameras, and that's kind of like my passion in life. So obviously I'm not a counselor. My mother's a counselor for middle school, so I kind of have a little bit of a background with, like, you know, psychology and helping people with mental health issues. But I'm by no means an expert. Took some psychology courses in college, but that's about it as far as my extent goes with that. Yeah. I remember why I went back to the bonfires to level up again. I'm trying to pump that faith stat up to 25 so I can get the lightning spear in a minute here. But anyway, so depression can come in a lot of forms. There's clinical, so kind of, that's the unfortunate thing about clinical depression, is it's kind of inescapable, right? Like, you can, you can't really cure it. You can, you know, make the symptoms go down. That's not a good way to phrase that. You can make the symptoms appear a little less bad. God, I do not know how to phrase this for whatever reason, but you get what I'm trying to say. But, you know, it's always going to be there. Unfortunately, it's always going to be a part of you. But I think it's important with any mental illness to kind of take a step back and not let it define you. I know that's a really difficult thing to do, especially with depression. And obviously people deal with it in different ways, so hopefully no one is offended by me saying that. Like, obviously live your life the way you want to live your life, but for me personally, I try not to let anxiety and depression kind of, like, run my life. I'm not clinically depressed, I never have been, as far as I know anyway. I've dealt with a lot of problems with anxiety, but I think depression was more something that I kind of experienced at certain points in my life based on different, like, triggers. but like as a kid, I always struggled a lot with social anxiety. That that's one of the best things that college did for me, honestly. Was like really curing me of that because I don't really have problems with talking to people anymore. In fact, I love to talk to people. It's like one of my favorite things. It's honestly kind of why I'm doing this video series now, because I just want to talk to people and interact with people and, hopefully help people with the things I'm saying. I don't know if that'll be the way this turns out, but I'm hoping so. Oh my god, this is a non sequitur, but these lightning spears just tear through this Black Knight. It's kind of disgusting, and like I would not have won this fight if it hadn't been for the lightning spears. So thanks, lightning spears. But no Black Knight sword, so that kind of sucks. But Titanite trunk was pretty cool. Not that I'm ever going to be using it, because I don't even know if I'm going to come back to this character. But anyway, struggled with a lot with social anxiety. Oh man, just getting reamed by that big pig boy. I hate this area, so I didn't want to run through there. But I made a mistake and almost got myself, like, just absolutely murdered here. But thank God for lightning spears. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. I grew up with a lot of social anxiety. I didn't know how to talk to people, especially when I was in 5th grade. I moved to a different state and didn't know anybody where I moved, and it was just a really rough time in my life. I don't want to elaborate too much on it because I kind of want to keep that for maybe a future video discussion topic, but so I struggled a lot with social anxiety and had trouble making friends. I remember a time in 6th grade, some girl came up to me and she was like, you're really nice, but you don't really talk a lot. How come you don't talk a lot? And I remember my response was, because I don't really have anything to say. And I still remember that to this day. I remember being kind of proud of that response. Like, wow, I nailed it. Like, like that was the perfect response to that, which, oh my god, it probably just made me look like a total idiot. But I was like huge in, I was kind of like huge into anime at the time, so I was kind of trying to be the whole edgy teenager, oh, look at me, I'm so mysterious. If you want to hear a funny story about that, check out Critical Penguins Zero on YouTube. He has a video called I think it's Anime Made My College Afraid of Me, My College Campus Afraid of Me, or something like that. It's a really funny video. I love Critical, so if you haven't seen any of his stuff, then check it out for sure. But yeah, I kind of got, as I got older, I started to get out of that whole social anxiety. Like, they always say, like, oh, it gets better. Like, I know that's such a cliche, but it's kind of true. It really does. Like, as you get older, a lot of things just get better. But again, I don't want to talk about this topic too much because I kind of want to save that for a future video. A lot of the other anxiety I've experienced in my life is relationship anxiety, and like that's like romantic relationship wise. I had a lot of struggles with that in my life as well. Like, I've had a couple different girlfriends, but it's always like failed for one reason or another, whether it was me, it was them, it was just unfortunate timing. Things happen, and it's been one of the biggest, like, learning and growing experiences of my life, is how to balance a relationship and not be too overbearing, too underbearing, to anything really. Um, and what it kind of just comes down to, what I've realized over the years, is that like you can't force anybody to feel a certain way about you. Like, you kind of have to just take it in stride, and like, if they want to be with you, that's awesome. But if they don't, like, there's nothing you can do about that. So you should always, be with somebody who really makes you feel wanted, and really makes you feel like you're worth their time. That sounds like such an obvious thing, but it's something that I've struggled so much with in my life, and I just didn't really know how to not struggle with that, because it was like, okay, this girl is willing to go on dates with me and like hang out with me and like spend time with me, all that, and she clearly seems to like me. So why does this not feel right? And like, when it gets to that point, you gotta really like listen to yourself, and that's something that I struggled with doing, and I still struggle with doing that at times. So yeah, I don't know. It's just definitely a topic for another video, if anybody watching is interested in hearing about that. But yeah, so probably the biggest trigger of depression in my life has been my expectations of my life versus reality of like what really happened. So I always have had kind of high expectations of myself, growing up and even now, because I don't want to say I had strict parents, because my parents, like, they expect a lot of me, but they also know that I know my limits, and so I guess growing up they kind of wanted me to succeed. Well, obviously they wanted me to succeed, any parent does, but they also wanted to see me kind of figure it out on my own. So I kind of grew up with higher expectations of myself, because I knew that I had to learn to, figure things out for myself. And I really wanted to succeed. I always wanted to succeed. I think that's why I came back to Dark Souls so many different times, is because I just wanted to succeed at something. And here Dark Souls was, kicking my ass just over and over again. And Dark Souls doesn't care if you fail. Honestly, a lot of things in life don't care if you fail. People don't care. Well, not everyone. Some people will. A lot of people will. But like, people don't always care that you failed. But you just gotta kind of keep going and say, screw that. Like, I know that I can be a winner if I really want to. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing and try to succeed. So I kind of had like really high expectations of myself throughout middle school and high school and college. Even elementary school to an extent too, but I think I was too young to really be thinking about that too much at the time. I think what was mostly on my mind in elementary school was like, let's play Pokemon. I love Pokemon. That was just like a huge obsession of mine. Yeah. So, throughout middle and high school, I was like, always like trying to get A's or A minuses in all my classes. I put a lot of, not too much, it was more so in high school, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to, like, try to look physically my best, because I don't know, I've always had like a fascination with like romantic relationships my whole life, and a little bit in middle school, not too much, because not a lot of people are dating in middle school, but mostly in high school I was like obsessed with the idea of getting a girlfriend and just being, you know, this cool guy with a hot girlfriend who really cared about him. And I mean, I think I obsessed a lot more about that in college than I did in high school, but so I had this idea that I was just gonna be like this like god of like, oh, look at this guy, he's so cool, like he's so successful and he's got a girlfriend who's awesome, and like, oh my god, I want to be him. Like, I don't know, I was obsessed with that idea of just being that guy for whatever reason. And I don't know, I really just wanted more of myself than I should have, and like, you know, it's not always possible to be, you know, exactly what you want to be. So in high school, that trend kind of continued of me wanting to just be the best, and so many of my friends had these just long-term relationships that they'd had since high school. It was always so frustrating to see it working out for them, but I would go on a date with a girl and it would last a month or two, and then either I would kind of overreact to the whole situation because the relationship wasn't at where I wanted to be, or something would just happen where it was just like, okay, well, this is obviously not going to work out. You know, sometimes it was my fault, other times it was not at all by any means my fault. It was just unfortunate circumstances that kind of ended things. But yeah, I put so much pressure on myself, and when relationships failed, I was just like, wow, well, what are you doing wrong? Like, why is it that your roommates can have these super long-term things, 5 years in a relationship still with the same girl? Like, why don't you have that? And I don't know, it weighed down on me a lot more than it should have, because it's ridiculous. Like, when you're in college, what you want to be focusing on is your future and growing as a person. And looking back, I wish I had done that a lot more, because like, I had it in my head that I was gonna, you know, have this stellar job lined up after college, and I was gonna be, you know, super successful. And I was successful, and am successful, for sure. Like, I did a lot of things in college that I never would have even dreamed that I could have done, and they were so cool. And wow, this was unfortunate coming up here. Another super close call of the caster just falling down there, and lightning spears are not fast enough to be able to cast versus this guy, because he's just he's kind of an asshole. And then of course I had to, you see me whiff the lightning spear, I had to run in to hit him, and in doing so I've aggroed all the other guys in the church all at the same time. So I've got to deal with everybody here. I cannot believe I survived through this. That was a close call, and I didn't even have the lightning spears to help me because they weren't fast enough. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was talking about. As you see me destroy these church pews, Um, and almost get my ass handed to me. I just get womboed right here. Ooh, brutal. That little sliver of health left. Use up all my Estus for the boss fight. So yeah, anyway, yeah, I kept a pretty good GPA throughout high school. Like, I had like a 3.85 all the way up till junior year, second semester. That was when I studied abroad in Scotland, and let me tell you, if you come from the US and you study abroad and are not prepared for grading scale or grade scaling in other countries, like especially European countries, and you're used to being an amazing student, get ready to like have your ass handed to you, very likely, because that's what happened to me. I went to a university in Scotland to study animation because I thought that was my big life's passion. Because I had been drawing my whole life. Still draw from time to time, but it's more of a hobby now than a career path. I thought I was gonna just be this animation mogul because I had, been super into, anime, and just like a lot of the YouTuber animators like Egoraptor and Rubber Ross and guys like that started on Newgrounds. I had been watching them since I was a kid on Newgrounds, since before I was probably allowed to watch videos with such like adult language and humor. Most of it went over my head, but I still loved it anyway. So yeah, I love to draw. I thought animation was going to be this big thing for me, but like, I never really tried it out for myself, because I think that was part of my anxiety, was I was really afraid to try new things. I'm still kind of like that sometimes. I was really afraid to try new things and succeed at them, because I was afraid that they were not gonna go well, and I was gonna totally fail, and I was gonna look like a complete idiot. And like, that's kind of why I think that I lost a little bit of passion for animation over in Scotland. Also, I don't... What's going on here? Oh, never mind. Sorry. I'm watching the footage as I'm commentating, and it stuttered for whatever reason. So, it's a little bit behind from what I'm looking at. But anyway, so yeah, I was always afraid that I was gonna fail, and, so, when I went to Scotland, I realized that a lot of the kids there were kind of groomed for animation, and they were, like, crazy talented. Such good artists, and I felt super inferior. Just like, I mean, I was skilled, but I was nowhere near their level because, they had been groomed to do this, and what was worse was I was a junior in college, and I was taking classes with freshmen, and I was 21 and they were all 18. They all were 3 years younger than me, or more. Some of them were 17, and it was just like, why am I so bad at this compared to them? It was really frustrating, but I wouldn't say that was the reason why I lost passion for animation. It was really my first time trying it, and I just realized this is just not my thing. Like, it's super tedious and difficult. Like, I love to draw, but I just don't like to sit there and draw for hours on end. It just didn't sit well with me. So I can't see the footage right now, but I remember something really funny happened, like, oh, I just won based on the noises I'm hearing, but, I realized halfway through the fight that I didn't have my Estus equipped, and, I was taking hits, and I kept trying to heal myself, but I was, nothing was happening because I had the gold pine resin equipped, and it was already on my weapon, so my character kept doing the, like, oh, I can't do anything animation. So that was kind of funny, and it took me way too long to realize that I did not have my Estus equipped. Oh, the footage almost caught up, but now it did not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I guess I kind of want to wrap up what I'm saying a little bit because there's only a couple minutes left in the footage, but, yeah, so I kind of fell out of love with animation, but, in that same sense, I kind of found love with, like, video editing and stuff like that, and, you know, I realized that, like, I'm good at it. Like, I'm not a prodigy or a savant or anything like that, but, I don't know. I think that was a way that I was kind of able to overcome my anxiety a lot, because I realized that I was actually good at something for once, and I was sure about it. I was not sure about animation. I was not sure about any of the things I had planned for my life, which was where a lot of my anxiety was stemming from, and a lot of my overall depression because of that. Like, there were so many things I wanted to do in life, but I just wasn't doing because I was so scared that I would fail at them. But I'm really happy that I did that trip to Scotland, because if that hadn't happened, if I hadn't realized that animation is not my thing, I would not have gotten as far as I have. And so I think that's really great, and it was probably a huge turning point in my life. And I'm really, really happy that it happened. So if you're struggling with depression or anxiety and don't know what the hell you're doing with your life, you know, take a step back, maybe do what I do, make a huge life decision out of nowhere, and decide to study abroad in a different country, because you never know, you might find out that what you've been doing is totally wrong, and you've just been wrong about everything, and that's not at all what you wanted. Because that's what happened to me, and it turned out great. And that's not to say I don't still suffer from anxieties and depressive episodes. Like, it happens. Like, everybody has their ups and downs, and, like, life has a way of kicking you in the ass, but, like, sometimes you just gotta kind of rise above that, and yeah, if you can do that, like, good for you. Don't let your anxieties define you, is basically what I'm trying to say. You know, unless you think for some reason that, you know, you want people to know that anxiety is always, and depression is always going to be part of your life, because for some people it is, and that's okay. And yeah, so footage is kind of wrapping up here, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're watching this, you have any ideas for the future of things for me to do, then you know, I'd love to try to talk about different subjects and see where this goes. I had a lot of fun doing this, so I'd love to make more. Thanks, guys.